I am not, of course, claiming that a man must always personally use retaliation against those who initiate such against him. He has the right, though not the obligation, to delegate that right to any
Hello,
legitimate
Kionella.
agency.
Yeah, a little bit late today.
They call it order when one hand may arm itself and bind the rest. They call surrender public peace and place your life inside their chest. A right is not a favor sealed by men who grant, suspend, reclaim. It rises from the living
Hello,
fact.
Beertarian.
A man must think and act to live. My life is mine to judge and live. No second mind can bear its cost. To yield the means of answering force is choosing who will choose for you. One badge, one bench, one guarded gate, one chain of command, one final say. When every answer pools in one, who guards the hand that turns our way? The gentle ruler is no proof. The office outlives every saint. Build one lever over all, and one day someone takes the weight. You ask me to consent, then seize the means by which consent means no. A yes compelled is not assent. A locked exit is not peace. No man owns my life, no state owns my last refusal. Reason names the line, and force may answer force. Disperse the means, retain the will. Let no tyrant count surrender sure. Free men keep the final veto at the source. I will bargain while there is a bargain. I will leave while there is a door. But if power makes obedience absolute, then refusal is the line it cannot cross. At dawn the lathe begins to turn. A lamp burns warm behind the door. A neighbor signs his chosen trade. A child asks why and learns some more. These are the stakes, not flags or age. The work, the home, the mind at ease. The rifle is not life's purpose. It guards the life that gives it meaning. I've seen two breeds of tyranny. The boot that boasts, the hand that shrugs. One crushes openly by law. One bars defense, then watches thugs. We cannot help, you may not act. The gate stays barred from either side. Outsourced defense is outsourced fate, when only rulers keep the key. Not rage, not appetite, not blood. Facts before fury. Proportion holds a weapon, does not sanctify. The cause must justify the stakes. No man owns my life, no state owns my last refusal. Reason names the line, and force may answer force. Disperse the means, retain the will. Let no tyrant count surrender sure. Free men keep the final veto at the source. I will bargain while there is a bargain. I will leave while there is a door. But if power makes obedience absolute, then refusal is the line it cannot cross. 1776 is not a shrine, not costume, powder, parchment, smoke. It is the fact beneath consent. The living man precedes the throne. No database, decree, or drone can turn a thinking man to property, or make his will another's own by stamping force authority. I carried orders, I carried weight. I learned what discipline must mean. The mind stays judge of what is just. Obedience cannot wash hands clean. So let the streets keep separate keys. Let radios answer house to house. Let one road close and three remain. Let every watchfire stand its ground. No single switch, no final throat, through which a whole free people breathes. 1,000 centers self-directed. Strike one down, the rest still choose. Destiny is not received, it is forged. Where judgment stands, abdication is a verdict too. You chose the chain when you gave up the key. stands as a warning and a promise kept. Reason draws the boundary. Free men keep the means to hold it. Power that forgets its limits meets a people not disarmed. We will bargain while there is a bargain. We will leave while there is a door. But if every peaceful answer is abolished, resistance is the last road left to life. Keep the judgment, keep the means, keep the last refusal.
All right, so y'all let me know what y'all thought about that. This is a test for a new song before Suno decides to fucking do its new thing, right? So, because it is a decent chunk of time that I have, right? I don't have anywhere to be tomorrow necessarily, right? Thank you, Cabot. Hello there, too, right? We are going to talk about something I would talk about on the weekend, right? A little tautological there, right? But we're going to be talking about how I should probably be recording this, right? All right, so we're going to be talking about something that I said I was going to talk about on the weekend, and now that it is the weekend, and, you know, I have some time, it's time to get down to business, right? Even though I did start later than I expected. We're not going to go through the whole thing. There's only a couple of sections that are actually relevant to the question at hand, right? Which is American Lysenkoism, and, well, not just American Lysenkoism, although it was spearheaded by Americans, so it is, in a sense, an American Lysenkoism, but it's more accurately described as a medical Lysenkoism. There we go, right? Not Lysenko. Anyone who knows about Lysenko, right? Lysenko was a scientist, and I use huge fucking air quotes here, right? Who wanted to reinvent agriculture in line with communist assumptions about the the world. And his, theories led to mass starvation and death, right? So Lysenkoism, properly defined, is where you put an ideology in front of the actual evidence, in front of the experimental result, right? So, and that's exactly what happened with Lysenko, and he had an idea about how things would work, so then he operated under the assumption that that's exactly how reality works, and then when reality didn't conform to him, he had all these excuses to explain why it didn't work, right? And we see this with, like, gender studies, with, gender-affirming care, with a bunch of other stuff, right? There's Lysenkoism that's going on currently in climatological sciences. That's not to say that, human-based climate changes aren't real, but it is to say that there is a lot of fuckery that's very demonstrably going on. And actually, now that I've brought this up, I could probably bring this up about the physics stuff too, because there's a lot of fuckery going on in physics that's really interesting. And it reminds me of what happened in ape communications research, which I could also probably talk about at some point, right? Although the best way to get involved into that would be to react to the Soup Emporium video, and I don't want Soup to fucking, again, send copyright ninjas to cut my head off midstream. So I'm gonna have to check to see if he's actually cool with people reacting to his stuff, because if you really want your blood to boil when it comes to, like, again, people putting their own ideas before empirical reality. Ape communications research and what's going on in physics right now, especially high energy physics, is really fucking, like, blood boiling. To defeat the Huns, right? Okay, fair enough. Let's get down to business, right? All right, so the part that we actually care about is crazy hospital stories to DCF sends letter to sex offender asking for help fostering victim's child. So it's a couple of sections we got here. Even if all the West reduce their carbon footprint till it'll do nothing if we don't curb India and China. That's true, but also, again, we always assume that, like, there could be no potential benefit to, like, climatological change, right? which is not entirely true, right? If the global climate actually increases in temperature, you actually do get one particular benefit, which actually is a really important benefit, which is you get more arable land, right? The parts of Russia and Canada, so basically the largest land masses on the fucking planet, which were previously not open to farming, become suddenly open to agriculture because of, again, the climatological changes. That's just one benefit that can occur from climate change, but there are obviously negative externalities that come with it, right? Because there's no such thing as a free lunch. You get one benefit, and oftentimes there's some cost that comes with it that you have to pay, right? So again, a bit of just being honest about the situation, right? I'm not too worried about global climate change. I've been literally hearing people be alarmist about climate change since I was in elementary school, and the world has not ended yet. So they've been very bad at predicting effects. I'm going to be perfectly honest, right? So let's get back to the medical Lysenkoism though. So oh shit, hold on, I went down to actually press a button. Here we go.
Connor Tomlinson had a crazy fucking story here. He said, my wife just spent 4 hours in urgent care at the nearest hospital on the advice of the NHS maternity service because she's showing signs of preeclampsia. Can lead to fatal blood clots, and she's a high-risk pregnancy.
Yeah, that's a pretty fucking bad spot to be in. More farmland, more Paisleys. Well, I mean, yeah, more Paisleys, right? Oh shit, I'm covering Kirsha. I gotta move. I don't wanna like obstruct the speaker. Oh fucking hell! There we go. All these invisible boxes on OBS, and it gets really annoying at times.
She was seen by an African nurse who barely speaks English and makes multiple spelling errors in her notes and hospital letter. This is how I felt going to the emergency care places when I was going through my pinched nerve era last year? No, the year before that.
Well, it's kind of hard to treat pain because pain is something that has to be reported, and there are people who lie about that, right? So there is an actual reason why doctors are skeptical about people when they report pain without an apparent cause. Because it turns out, again, it's that tyranny of the bottom 2%, right? Because the bottom 2% will fucking lie about that kind of shit. It means that everyone else has, got to eat the cost of that. Oh, I know what a Paisley is. Ah, man, I'm more of what a Paisley is. Those are sad cases. They do not get the hybrid vigor.
Yeah, it was fucking awful. Absolutely fucking awful. Hated it. Would not recommend. Dude, like every time I went to the emergency services clinic, the doctor who would look at me could barely speak English. After 4 hours of waiting, she's seen by a doctor who tells her to...
So I'll get onto that, because this is something I didn't think of at the time, because I've known about medical Lysenkoism for a while, but I'm like, oh my god, that works perfectly for the goal. Because medical Lysenkoism, the real thing guiding that is health equity. Now, health equity is equity applied to health. Now, that may bring up some questions, right? It's like, okay, in theory, you can at least understand how equity works, even if it doesn't work in the real world. You can imagine some hypothetical world, right, where magic exists, and it's like, ah, yes, we can make everyone equal in outcome, right? From an economic standpoint, you would still destroy everything because you would require a socialist system to do that, and there's no you have the economic calculation problem at that point. But the question then becomes, how do you equalize outcomes, not economically, but if we're talking health equity, how do we equalize health outcomes? Because you can't redistribute health. Well, there's an answer to that. You redistribute harms. And this is exactly what they're describing right here. And initially, when I first heard about this, I was like, okay, so they're gonna increase the amount of fucking incompetent doctors, and they're gonna try to disperse the incompetent doctors in better well-off areas and better doctors in less well-off areas. And that's going to be the initial plan. This is a little bit more devious, but this also gets the they want to eat the rich. Well, I mean, yeah, it's a cannibalistic. It's kind of funny. I read a whole short story written by a communist about how fucking capitalism leads to a cannibalistic, metaphorically speaking, society. And it's like, hey, then you get all these communists screaming, "Eat the rich!" And I'm like, huh? I wonder who the real cannibals are. That entire story was projection, eh? Right? I'm gonna have to find that because I can't remember it off the top of my head. But I remember being like, this just sounds like fucking projection. Yeah, so one of the ways you can actually do health equity is, again, just flood the market with incompetent doctors, right? There's no vetting system, so how do you know your doctor is any fucking good, right? So we'll see how this works here, right? It also, in this case, again, flooding the hospitals with people who can't even speak your language, right? That pretty much guarantees equity there, because if you can't speak their language and they can't understand you, well, go fuck yourself, right?
Make her own way to another hospital to wait in the accident and emergency department to get tested there instead. Don't you love universal health care? Oh my god, why don't we have free health care in America?
And this is why one of the things that they want to push, the health equity people want to push universal health care, because once they control the distribution of healthcare services, they can pull shit like this.
Comes home and calls the hospital, who transfers her to a maternity service, also staffed by an African woman with an indecipherable accent, totally indifferent to the urgency of the situation. Tells her to come into the hospital and wait. We went to the same hospital months ago when we thought she had miscarried. It took 7 hours to see us, and after telling us twice we had probably lost the baby, they did an ultrasound which showed she was fine. That is an insane level of incompetence that puts... I can't even, like...
That's not really incompetence. I'm pretty sure that's negligence.
...quantify the level of stress on these people. And guess what's bad for a pregnant woman?
Oh, it's almost as if, again, harm is the point, right? Universal suffering? Absolutely. That is the entire point of this, right? Is the immiseration of the people that they hate. And, again, the proletariat will suffer along with the bourgeoisie when the communists get their revolution, so...
Somehow they managed to miss a second baby with the ultrasound, though. So now she's in A&E and for another few hours, either for a life-threatening condition that's getting worse while she waits, or for something a quick scan and an aspirin prescription will fix in moments. No wonder maternal mortality has increased. Don't you just love becoming the third world, chat? No.
Yeah, we're in certain areas, it's actually becoming the reverse, the anti-Semmelweis is happening, right? Semmelweis actually helped to make it safer to give birth in hospitals than, just at home. Especially because, he taught doctors how to wash their hands, which was a revolutionary idea at the time. But, at this point, again, the entire point is... it is exactly that, the immiseration of the colonial people, right? And again, this is the NHS, right? So it's like, this is the United Kingdom, and who were historically the colonial people, right? Who were, according to post-colonial doctrine, the colonizers and the colonized, right? Ah, yes, the colonized are the incompetent doctors in this particular situation, and the colonizers are those who are suffering from the incompetence of the doctor. It's almost as if this is, again, one of those class inversions that's meant to abrogate the entire society. Let's see. Time to patron doctors to be group paid by rich communities better than HOAs. To be fair, we also did, a while ago, I did do a video on private healthcare, and how private healthcare used to actually be cheap and affordable, and it's because it was cheap and affordable that doctors lobbied the federal government to basically make that the practices of the past that made it affordable illegal, right? So if you can't afford your healthcare bill, literally blame doctors who were mad that they couldn't get away with charging more, right? Because the free market made their labor actually cheap and affordable, right? So anyway, let's continue.
Incompetence, inefficiency, waste, and negligence in the NHS maternity services is astounding. And it's not just strain on the system from demand, it's that frontline staff are not compassionate or qualified.
Yep.
Nobody seems willing to criticize this because it's mean. But so many people who interact with the NHS services have a bad story. It doesn't have to be like this. I don't care what needs to change to make it work. Just make it fit for purpose. And it's like, Well,
it is fit for purpose. It's not fit for your purpose, but it is fit for purpose.
have an exacerbated form of the issue that we already have in the US, right? We have the exact same issue of like incompetent foreign doctors with fake credentials or not credentialed at all, getting into positions they have no business being in, and then they can't even communicate with their patients because they can speak English on like a second grade fucking level, right?
Misspells ankles. I don't know if they got there yet, but this. They had a problem with fucking people not being able to spell the word ankle correctly, having multiple tries to do it. It's like, you were literally not qualified to operate in this country. Get the fuck out of the way, right? You literally cannot communicate with your patients. How can you serve your patients?
But in America, we don't have free healthcare. So at least we can get seen by the incompetent doctor in under 24 hours instead of being told to wait a gajillion years for it, right? You got a tab on the Egyptian doctor? Oh yeah, I fucking do. And then
yeah, hold on. So before she goes on there, I would like to point your opinion to these articles that I'm going to read before the end of the section that we're going to talk about, right? The American Medical Association's 2024-2025 strategic plan to advance health equity. This is the thing you need to be paying really fucking close attention to, because this is the thing that's going to get a lot of people killed. But, you know, fuck it. Let's see. We're here, and it's good context for what we're talking about. So let's just read this, right? So that the rest of what Kirsch is going through makes more sense. I will link the actual, what the fuck would you call it? The full PDFs for you to read in the video description. So, Vision for Equity and Justice in Medicine. The American Medical Association, AMA, is the nation's largest professional association of physicians. Yes, I know this is America and that's the United Kingdom, but it's the same basic thing, so bear with me, right? It is the physician's powerful ally in patient care, promoting the art and science of medicine and the betterment of public health, rooted in a history of advocacy and guided by a vision of a more equitable future. And the AMA recognizes the urgent need to address historical and contemporary injustices within the healthcare system. If this is not setting off alarm bells because there's nothing that's relevant to your current medical care about like what happened in the past, except for what happened to you personally in the past, I don't know what to tell you, right? Let's see. Advancing health equity through the American Medical Association's efforts entails a dedicated, coordinated, and honest approach. It recognizes the harmful effects of the American Medical Association's past and targets the systemic inequities in the healthcare ecosystem. Again, we have environmentalist ideological language in here. And again, we have the whole communist lingo of, again, oppressor and oppressed. And it's like, yes, we used to be the victimizers, and now we have to make up for our our inherited sin, right? Again, let's continue. Towards that goal, the American Medical Association released a plan to chart a path towards a more promising and equitable future for all. How many times do you think they're going to say equitable, right? All commies need to disappear? Yes, I do believe they need to be physically removed from our societies, and I believe that they should never be tolerated in any of our spaces, right? Let's see. So, how many times... Don't turn this into a drinking game, but pay attention to how many times they say equitable. If someone counts it, then they can let me know by the end of this how many times they say equitable. And because I have a sneaking suspicion the equitable part is going to be more important in this article than the actual health part, right? This is the AMA's second health equity strategic plan dedicated to advancing health equity. Read the American Medical Association leadership viewpoint reaffirming the association's commitment to health equity. And that would be right here, which we can read after this, because it's not that long. So, origins of strategic plan. The origins of this strategic plan date back to the American Medical Association's annual House of Delegates meeting in June of 2018. In this meeting, the time-limited Health Equity Task Force, appointed by the chair of the American Medical Association Board of Trustees, presented to the American Medical Association House of Delegates Board Reports 33 A-18, a plan for continued progress towards health equity, D-180.981. This is a PDF file. In April of 2019, the American Medical Association launched the American Medical Association Center for Health Equity with the hiring of its first chief health equity officer. Again, they literally cite all of this, so you can go and you can read all of this communist gobbledygook, except you need to be signed in to read some of this. So, I wonder what's being hidden here, right? I'm gonna try something. Okay, so I can't read this anyway, so I'm gonna close this up. Let's see. In 2021, the American Medical Association announced its first strategic plan to embed racial justice and advance health equity. So, by the way, racial justice is now part of the medical plan, right? Hold on. My town actually has cheaper doctor options, and no, that's not through the government. The owner's son fucked it up with a bad gambling of companies. Now they have to lease their clinics until they can get it fixed. Ooh, that's rough, buddy. Let's see. Just put the article into Grok and ask how many times equity is in it. Okay, you know what? That's a fair point. I didn't even think about that, right? So, let's see. This plan was a 3-year roadmap to plant the initial seeds for action and accountability to embed racial justice and advance health equity for years to come. You'll notice that they restate this what they just said very often. It's very common in communist language. Read the progress updates for each of the 3 years. So you have progress update 1, 2, 3. So the 2024 to 2025 plan serves a direct extension of the 2021 to 2023 strategic plan. Together, the two documents detail the American Medical Association's health equity strategy for over a 5-year period. I look forward to the doc in a box that exists in the Hyperion series by Dan Simmons. Ooh, interesting. I've actually never read that one. The roadmap following 5 strategic approaches, with the input of many, both inside and outside the American Medical Association. I wonder how many of these were doctors and how many of these were not doctors, right? This strategic plan serves as a roadmap of the first strategic plan to promote action and accountability to advance health equity for years to come. The American Medical Association will initiate and push forward these 5 strategic approaches. Strategic approaches to advance health equity. Embed equity. So notice you have, again, like it's embedded, so you can't extract it without unraveling the entire thing, right? That's by design. That's what they want to do. They want to embed it so deeply that the only way for you to take it out is for you to like throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Build alliances and share power. So again, we're talking about like this is why we have racial equity in here, right? Ensure equity in innovation. So basically, more sophisticated ways to screw you over with communist gobbledygook. How the heck is equity even legal? Because no one enforces anything that would make it illegal. That's literally that simple. Push upstream. So again, force this through. And foster pathways, which is to say, do missionary work, right? Remember when fucking Kirsch's always going on about the whole, oh yeah, it's going to be part of your job, in Bridge to actually reach out and, to promote the work yourself, right? Yeah, that's exactly what's going on here too. Let's see. Hold on, I'm just checking something. Okay, so it is working. I don't know what the fuck is going on with my YouTube. YouTube is borking out for some reason. Let's see. Number 1, embed equity. Infuse racial equity and social justice into fabric of AMA's culture, system, policies, practices. Again, you will engage in the praxis. You will promote the politics. You will subject yourself to the system, right? The system will be subverted to their ends, and you will lose the culture. Infuse racism, basically, right? Implement and monitor enterprise-wide health equity goals and performance metrics using an anti-racist results-based accountability, or ARRBA, so pay attention to that acronym whenever you see it, framework. So anti-racism, again, it's like we all know what anti-racism is. Anti-racism is say that you're not racist while being racist to the people that you believe, that you say are the ones that are systematically racist, right? So they say that, again, the reason why they have the ad hoc definition of racism, which it is ad hoc, it is explicitly to justify a specific set of behaviors, right? Is so that they can hate white people, right? Is so that they can hate people they see as in the dominant group because they believe in class oppression, right? So yeah, again, to an anti-racist based accountability framework would basically be one that would subject the different groups to different standards of care while saying that they're actually not doing that, right? It's the same thing with the anti-fascists and the fact that, like, if you look at their actual metaphysics, it's like, oh wait, a lot of you lots are actually classical fascists. You just don't know what classical fascism is, so that's why you don't fucking realize it, and you wouldn't care if you knew anyway, right? So it's like, identify more opportunities to align and synergize mission and membership initiatives. So the synergize is important here, right? So you can think about this in like Christological terms, right? So in Christianity, you have two different terms. One is monergism, and the other one is synergism. So in monergism, the idea is that, like, when why does man reach out to God? Where does that energy or operation come from, right? Monergism says that there's only one source of the energy, right? So whatever allows you to reach out to God is actually not your own power. It is God's operation acting in you that you can then ascend to or decide to pull away from. Whereas synergism says that it is ontologically rooted in the person themselves, right? In a sense, they create the operation within themselves, and then man can reach out to God under his own will, and it's through cooperation that man and God, are reconciled. So it's basically Pelagianism. And here, this is exactly what we're talking about, right? So the mission reaches out, and it must be reached out to. That's what the synergized mission and membership initiatives mean, right? It's not enough that they reach out to you. That would be monergistic, right? You have to also reach out to them of your own accord, and only when that is achieved has the mission actually been accomplished. So maybe I'm looking a bit too far into this due to my interest in philology, but strengthen efforts to assess the American Medical Association's Federation and House of Delegates awareness and utilization of equity products and overall engagement with equity initiatives. Ah, yes, we sell equity and equity accessories here, right? So again, the products and overall engagement with equity initiatives. So these are the things that they're going to be focusing on. It literally is a business. So build alliances and share power. Acknowledge, learn from voices and experiences of historically marginalized, minoritized physicians and stakeholders. Pay attention to that. It's your stakeholder capitalism, right? Stakeholder capitalism is not capitalism. It's not even traditional corporatism. Stakeholder capitalism is the West's version of Deng Xiaoping theory, where Deng Xiaoping figured out how to get the free market, quote unquote, to serve communism by actually not allowing a free market, but allowing a semi-free market where actually everything is controlled by the state. Stakeholders didn't have the stakeholder capitalism model is meant to allow communism to address the fact that there is not a single government it's acting in. It's trying to act upon a global market, right? To bring the global markets under the control of an ideological regime, right? So continue to convene and provide grants to support minoritized and marginalized physician groups' efforts to promote increased representation in medicine. Ah, yes, there's too many white people and there's too many men in medicine. We need more women and we need more minoritized physicians, right? It's like, we're not, and they're not looking for Herman Cain, right? They're not looking for someone like Herman Cain. No. If they have to equalize the numbers, they'll gladly accept people who don't, again, meet the mark. So let's see. Support medical students and physicians experiencing discrimination in their schools and workplaces. This is operating under the assumption that disparities in the outcome of success is somehow the result of discrimination against them for anything other than their lack of competency, to be perfectly honest. which is not exactly true. It turns out a lot of the groups that actually succeed in the medical field come from groups that actually, on average, right, that actually value things like hard work, low time preferences, actually make good decisions. And even if you come from one of those groups, if you don't have a good work ethic and you have a high time preference, you're probably going to fucking fail. Right? This is not a discrimination thing. This is again, what does the culture promote, and does your culture set you up for success kind of deal, right? Which is not a fault of the people who are actually passing and failing the would-be doctors, right? So, prevent and reduce the burden of chronic disease by reaching 5 million patients with hypertension to lower their blood pressure. You see, now we have an actual medical goal here, right? How long did it take to hit a medical goal? Right? Bolster the work of federally qualified health centers by providing supported physicians, education, opportunities, and tools to better understand the health of their communities. Now we're getting into community health. You're not a single, or you're not an individual organism. You're actually a cell in a collective, and we have to care more about the health of the collective than the health of you as an individual. Remember the early 2000s? It was like a different world back then. Racism was on a hard decline, and then bam, everything racist. I blame Ghostbusters 2016. Okay, that's... truly, that was the, and I hate to use this phrase because I actually hate this movie, canon event, right? Let's see. Ensure equity in innovation. So how do you... Again, it's one of those things like, okay, how do you even ensure equity in innovation? You can't control who actually innovates unless you can control who is allowed to even be involved in the process of innovation, right? Integrate racial justice. Your doctor has to now be concerned about racial justice, right? Health equity into healthcare innovation efforts. Again, you can't redistribute health. You can only redistribute harms. Amplifying voices of historically marginalized individuals. I'm sorry, sir, but I don't really care whether or not you, I don't really care whether or not you're black, like Mexican, Korean, white, or fucking Native American, right? If you're operating on me, I just want you to be competent and actually be able to give me the health care I need, right? But the noticing box does notice for a reason, right? Let's see. Increase the size, success, and impact of the in-full health community. Let's open this up to see what this is. Christ. Okay. So we're going to be here all day if we have to go through this, right? Let's see. In-full initiative to advance equitable health innovation. The in-full health and learning and action community to advocate equitable health innovation initiative seeks to advance equitable opportunities in health innovation, investment, solution development, and purchasing. So basically, they're redistributing who actually gets the grants, right? So, 5 principles for equitable health innovation. You know what? Fuck it. We might actually have to read part of this because this will actually explain it, right? Let's see. Collaborating to support equitable health innovation. The AMA is partnering with founding collaborator organizations to support the in-full health learning and action community, which with content, tools, resources, and opportunities to contact, engage, and learn with and from each other to advance equitable health innovation. The In-Full initiative grew out of the AMA's organizational strategic plan to embed racial justice and advanced health equity, specifically related to the ensure equitable structures and opportunities in health innovation strategic approach. The Center for Health Equity facilitated the development of the initial in-full health principles with the American Medical Association's External Equity and Innovation Advisory Group. So the AMA was involved in this too, right? So all that shit you're seeing going on in the national healthcare system of the United Kingdom, it's coming to you too in the United States. Let's see. The initiative is built around 5 principles for advancing equitable health innovation opportunities, inviting community members to understand how structural racism, sexism, and bias impact health innovation, resource allocation, so that steps can be taken to dismantle them. Okay. let's see. Assess the value of all health innovation solutions by their impact on health equity as a fundamental metric. So even if your health innovation solution is actually, effective, if it doesn't actually forward health equity, because remember, the fundamental metric is the impact on health equity, then it's failed to meet its burden, right? Let's see. Number 3, invest in health innovations designed by innovators building from and for historically marginalized communities. Hey, you remember when I said it would involve redistributing who actually gets to participate in the research? It turns out I was right. I didn't even actually read this article, to be perfectly honest. I didn't even read the previous one. I knew what they were going to talk about because I know what health equity is. I just wanted to give them enough rope to hang themselves, and it turns out they did, right? Let's see. 4, utilize health innovation investment models that support asset ownership and wealth development within historically marginalized communities. So, again, invest in historically marginalized communities. Well, is that going to be by pulling from historically quote-unquote advantaged communities, right? Engage industry influencers in addressing system-level barriers and needs. Ah, yes, they're going to go for the influencers. God, I hate these people. So pay attention to what your doctor influencers on social media are saying. If they start talking about health equity, they have no fucking clue what they're talking about. Let's see. Underrepresentation in investment, development, and purchasing. Despite decades of increasing investment in health innovation, data shows that the U.S. continues to have worse health outcomes than other high-income nations and persistent inequity. Well, to be fair, a lot of it is, things that we do to ourselves. The root of the problem is that Black, Latinx, Indigenous people of color, and women comprise approximately 70% of the U.S. population, but are underrepresented in health solution, investment, development, and purchasing decisions. Again, they'll just assert this, but they haven't actually shown, and they will never try to show, why that's actually the case, right? Because that doesn't actually matter. Let's see. Comprise 70% of the population, receive less than 10% of the new venture funds, manage 1.3% of investment dollars. Maybe they get less of the received funds because they're not as invested in some of this stuff, but I digress, right? Let's see. I blame feminism. Agree. I call bull. You should. Latinx is such a racist disillusion of their language. It is, right? And I would rather be called a slur that unironically than Latinx, right? You can call me a fucking beaner, just don't call me Latinx, right? Call me a spick, don't call me Latinx. I would fucking prefer you call me taco, to be perfectly honest. Do not call me Latinx. I will fucking slur at you if you do so, right? I will drop the R, right? If you drop a slur, I will drop the slur back, right? So we're talking about health equity. About how what's going on in the NHS is coming to the United States. So hello there, Captain Terror of the Second Dimension. So this part probably, if you just missed the part that would have definitely made your blood boil. Opportunity for impact. In Full Health provides health industry stakeholders, again, there's that key term you want to pay attention to. Stakeholder capitalism is just Deng Xiaoping theory of the West. With the opportunity to change long-standing industry-wide systems of inequity by prioritizing investment in health innovations developed by, with, and for Black. I'm just gonna fucking drop the slur in there because I literally, because I'm in this group and I would literally be called a slur before I would be called Latinx. Beaner, Indigenous, and other communities of color. Let's see. Women, LGBTQ plus communities. Which, by the way, this is ideological. There's nothing that LGB has in common with T, for the most part, outside of a Marxist material analysis of these groups. And T doesn't even have anything to do with Q. Q is explicitly ideological. Q stands for queer, as in non-normative. You can learn this by just reading queer theoretic literature. They're very clear that queer is just an identity without an essence, right? So, again, this is the LGBTQ is ideological. LGBT was already ideological in general too, right? Because like the T Well, I mean, technically, even tea is technically founded on a foundation of biological essentialism, right? If there is no bio-essentialism, then what are you transitioning into? You can just declare through fiat or through some magic ritual